YouTube Ozick going the Goat House is back after a very surprising NFL Sunday here in Week 7. I got takeaways for every single team that's played so far. Biggest winners, the rest of the winners. Biggest losers, the rest of the losers. How we do it every single Monday. I only got two biggest winners. There's a lot of winners, but two biggest winners this week. Weird week. Also 6 teams on bye, so it kind of makes sense there. Can't wait for our power rankings. Those will be on Tuesday, early Tuesday, and a lot of things definitely changing in that this week. Our weekly picks, can't wait for that. Trade deadline video is already on the channel. Go check them out. There's definitely more to come. A lot of rumors going around, so we'll have you guys covered for everything NFL. So join us, like, subscribe to notifications on, follow us on Twitter. A lot going on there. We'll be talking during the Monday night game tonight. My Vikings play. I'm not too confident, but it was a weird week, so we'll see. Our sponsors, Liquid IV, GLD Shop, have a giveaway with the GLD Shop. They have some NFL jewelry and just regular jewelry. Links pinned in the comments for anything I just rattle off there. So only two biggest winners. Shocker, the Ravens are in it. They won 38-6 against maybe the hottest team in football in the Detroit Lions. 38-6. Very impressive. The Ravens needed this. A few weeks ago, it kind of felt like where they were at, what was their identity, like a pretty good team, but can't really stay consistent. They slip up late in games, let teams kind of get back in there. They have that choke potential, which obviously isn't good. I needed them to switch that identity around, get something consistent going, be that good team that you are, and they go out here and just obliterate the Detroit Lions, one of the hottest teams in football. And I like that they didn't let them come back either, because they were getting up big, and it's like, all right, the Lions will probably come back because they're a good team. The Ravens kind of let teams do this, and then it was like, wasn't happening. They're getting a bigger lead. Like, all right, the Ravens got a comfortable enough lead where they're going to win, but they're probably going to let the Lions come back. And then, no, they just continue to dominate them. So the Ravens proved like multiple things in this game. Like they proved that, they won't allow these teams to come back. I mean, it could still happen here and there, but that they're able to consistently throughout a game be that good team that they should be, and beat a very good team. That was kind of the story of this week. There's good teams, and there's good teams that can beat the other good teams, and there's good teams that might not be able to beat the other good teams. And the Ravens are on the better end of that, obviously. But they dominated this game, great on all phases. The offense was clicking right from the start. I like that they get Lamar going on the ground. I like that the passing game was going right off the bat. It was pretty much OBJ was getting some action. You had Zay Flowers getting downfield. Love that. Something I needed to see. Get the ball back, doing some of the same thing. Then they're getting Mark Andrews going like crazy. It's like switching it up, but at the same time continuing on what's working. Don't go away from what's working, but tweak it a little bit so it just really throws off the other team. So I love that. So I think, things starting to come together. Like Todd Monken offense, earlier in the year just kind of felt like the same, like it's the Greg Roman offense. It's the same thing. It's what it felt like. When I was saying those things, it wasn't really a prediction at the end of the year. It was just what was happening at that time. So I needed to see them kind of figure it out and get going fully. And I thought like everywhere they did, like across the board. So I love that from the Ravens here. Thought they had a great game plan, and they executed it really well. So I love that. Like going into the game, you could see like it's based on the game plan. We're going to go on there. We're going to do this. We're going to expose where the Lions are a little weaker, and we're going to dominate this game as long as we execute. That's kind of what it felt like would happen there, and it did. So this is what the Ravens needed. Not only did they go out and beat a good team 38-6, that alone is huge, but they just went out and showed what they had to show. Like for being consistent, being able to beat a good team, being able to execute the game plan throughout the whole game, being able to not let teams come back. I like little things like Lamar staying consistent in the passing game, kind of getting everyone involved. I like Zay Flowers getting things going downfield, not just screen passes, slants, curls, things like that. OBJ got going from the start. Everything was good about this. The defense is we knew the defense was good, but it's continuing to go out there and play ball. Obviously, the defense looks great. So I love this game for the Ravens. Absolutely love it. And there's only two big winners, but there's other teams that are somewhat big winners. We'll talk about them, but the Chiefs are the other big winners. I thought this was the most impressive game from the Chiefs yet. Yes, they're on a winning streak. Yeah, they obliterated the Bears. Do I care if they obliterate the Bears? No, they should. So they've been winning, and that's great. That's really all that matters, but they haven't really looked like the full Chiefs yet. We've been talking about that. They barely escaped the Jets. They didn't barely escape the Broncos, but they really weren't all that. The defense is pretty impressive, but they go out and play a Chargers team, which I like to think they're better than their record, and they are explosive on offense, and the defense has been getting better the last couple games, I suppose, especially the Cowboys game. So it could be a little bit of a trap game. Like, the Chiefs have to actually be on their game to win this game, and they were. And I think they were for the first, against the Bears, they kind of look like the Chiefs, but it's the Bears. So I thought this was the most impressive game. Like, Mahomes, Kelsey playing like Mahomes and Kelsey. Like, we've seen glimpses of it throughout the year, and they've been very good when they're playing, obviously, but have they been the best duo in football? Have they been elite, like constantly elite like they always are? I haven't really seen it like consistently throughout a whole game. This game was ridiculous. I saw it throughout this entire game. So that kind of gets them back on track of being the Chiefs, and they're continuing on the streak. And like we said with the Ravens, what I needed to see, they showed me. What I needed from the Chiefs, they showed me. They had a complete game here, both sides of the ball. Mahomes and Kelsey looked elite. They continue this streak, but while continuing the winning streak, they look like the elite Kansas City Chiefs. So it's what I needed to see here. And the defense, shout out to the defense, because I know maybe the offense has been a little underwhelming, even though they've done enough and they've been winning before this game. They've been underwhelming, I should say. This game they were not. But the defense has actually been pretty consistent. They've been very locked down in coverage for the most part. Let some things early get away. It was back and forth, but they really adjusted in the second half and locked things down, made plays when they needed to. So very impressed with the Chiefs this week. So those are the two big winners. There's other, on the week, the Eagles get a good quality win on Sunday Night Football. Lost last week. They're playing a good team in the Dolphins. A very good quality win. Defense stepped up too. I thought the defense would give up a lot more in this game than they did. They stepped up when they needed to. Big play, Slay getting that interception. So they stepped up, and that's kind of what the positive has been on the Eagles this year. When saying positive, it's like when they need to step up, when they need to make a big play, when they need to clutch up, it feels like they can do that for the most part. I guess they didn't do it. They did the opposite against the Jets. They had the game, and they kind of gave it to the Jets. But for the most part, it seems like when they need to, they can make a big play and win. And again, a quality win. So overall, they're big winners on the day. What I don't like is that the Dolphins were kind of staying around in this game. Like, the Eagles completely outplayed them. People bring up the refs. The refs were pretty bad in general these last 2 weeks, and it just is. I'm not happy about it across the league. It's pretty bad, but it is what it is. Teams still have to outplay other teams, and the Eagles completely outplayed the Dolphins in this game, which I think most people, you think the refs kind of helped them out a little bit. Sure. But the Eagles completely outplayed the Dolphins in this game. But that's kind of my one issue here, is they completely outplayed them, but they kind of let them stick around. Like, the defense was playing better than expected, but then Hurts has that fumble, the Dolphins get a field goal. Hurts has that pick six. It's here's 10 points. Here's 10 points. Get back in the game. So I don't love that. Kind of some similarities with the sloppy turnovers we saw in the Jets game. But they're able to close this one out. A.J. Brown was fantastic. Again, the defense played better than expected. They get a quality win, which they needed, because have they played a long list of good teams? Not really. That was kind of the story of this week. Again, I said that when we were talking about the Ravens. There's a handful of good teams that were going to play other good teams this week, and neither of those teams really, I know they're good, but have they overly impressed? Have they beat a pretty good team in impressive fashion? Not really. And some of those teams were on the winning end, and some of those teams were on the losing end, obviously. So the Eagles go out there and get a quality win. I think that's huge. The Patriots, that's they beat the Bills. And they've been struggling. So that's a big win for them. I mean, is there a major takeaway though? For going forward, what is that win gonna do from you? Are they gonna be able to stay consistent and continue this? Some questions still. They outplayed the Bills by quite a bit, and they almost let them win that game. They took to the last second there, but there were big improvements. Is it going to continue? But Mac Jones played much better. I think it starts with the offensive line. The offensive line, they get Michael Onwenu back, and the offensive line played very well, and I think that elevated everything. Is that going to be? You can't really expect that to be the case every single week. Even if the offensive line plays well, is that guaranteed that Mac Jones and the receivers play outstanding? But starts with the offensive line, got healthy, played better. Mac Jones played better. Receivers were making play. Bourne played great. Defense made plays, and it kind of elevated everything. So they look like, kind of the last few years Patriots, like pretty decent teams. So will that continue? Impressive win against the Bills there. The Bears dominated the Raiders. So, big winners on the week. Again, what does that win do for you? Maybe there's some people, thinking negatively about it. Maybe they're better off losing. Maybe, because they wanted Fields to work so bad, and an undrafted rookie comes in and looks better than him. So there are some people kind of thinking negatively about it. But I thought it was their best all-around game. The Washington game was very good, and it was explosive, like DJ Moore explosive. But the defense was dominant in this game for the Bears, and they were very consistent on offense. The plays that were called, the designs of the plays that were called they went out there and they execute them. They have to tweak things a little bit for Fields. They got to run specific plays. So Bagent kind of just went out there and just ran what was asked of him. And I thought who has more all-around talent? Of course, it's Justin Fields. But who executes the game plan, the play calls, the play designs better, and who gets the ball out quicker? It's actually Bagent. So it's a tough look for Justin Fields, obviously. But it just continues to prove what we've been saying, that they're probably going to need a quarterback with one of those first two picks. But yeah, Bagent went out there and got the job done. I think he executed what was asked of him. That offense, he looked really smooth, like he knew he didn't just get the ball and run. He didn't get the ball and sit there for a while. He got the ball, knew when it was time to escape the pressure, knew it was time to get the ball out, knew it was time when, okay, no one's open, I got to run. So I did like that from him. It's pretty impressive for an undrafted rookie. And the Raiders' defense, I don't view as the best defense in the world, but they've been playing better than expected. They've been playing pretty decent. The defense has really improved. Like the last few weeks, the Bears' defense has really been playing well. Like they played very well against the Vikings offense last week. And they played well against the Commanders, too. I thought this was their best defensive game. Jalen Johnson, maybe not in the trading block anymore. If he is, his value went up. So I thought all around with like execution and both sides of the ball and how smooth they looked and how dominant they were. I thought this was their best game this year, which really isn't hard to find because they only have a couple wins. But so I get a big win. So it's a big positive for the Bears here. They'll play the Chargers on prime time next week, so we'll see what happens there. The Giants' defense continues to improve. It's been very impressive. It was underwhelming early in the year, like, is this predictable? But guys stepping up, and they're locked down 2 games in a row here against the Bills. And again, and then, honestly, they probably did enough in that Seattle game, too. The Seattle Seahawks got a pick 6 in that one, but so the defense continues to improve. So will it continue to improve as the year goes on? Could they win because of their defense? And I thought Tyrod did enough in this game, got Waller in the end zone right away. They had this game. They outplayed the Commanders a bit. Saquon had a bad fumble, in the red zone. That can't happen. And the Commanders actually had a shot to tie this game at the end. Who knows if they would have went for 2 or not. But so it's one where you shouldn't really let the Commanders be in the game, put it away, But I'm impressed with the defense. The Jags, I'm trying to find consistent teams here. I guess the Chiefs are on a consistent streak, but the Jags may be the most consistent team of football right now. I know they almost slipped up. They kind of did throughout this game, but they're away. It's hard to stay consistent. The Jags haven't won in the Superdome. Trevor Lawrence hasn't won in the Superdome, and they're able to find a way. So beginning of the year, they were sloppy and they were inconsistent. And now, right now, their label right now is consistent and explosive. So really flipped the switch there, really, which isn't really a surprise because not only what I say every year, but what does the NFL prove every single year? In fact, that you really can't have takeaways like predicting the rest of the year from the beginning of the year, like the first couple weeks. And that's kind of being proven by the Jags and several teams here. So that, very explosive. Like that they getting Christian Kirk going. I wish Calvin Ridley was more involved, but ETN very explosive. Lawrence, even when hurt, explosive through the air, on the ground. Defensively, they let the Saints move the ball at the end, but they made plays earlier when they needed to. But get out there with a win. Other winners, the Steelers, I love the second half adjustments. It started with TJ Watt, that pick. Without that interception, I don't think they win this game. Just a big-time player, obviously. But the second half adjustments were good. They were able to get Pickett and Pickens were able to get going in the second half. The running game between Harris and Warren was kind of elevated in the second half, and that really got them going. So all around, very good adjustments, very good play in the second half. And they're a clutch team. They're not winning games because of both sides of the ball are great through 4 quarters at the same time, or they're not winning ball games because their offense is so explosive. They're winning because they're clutch. They're making adjustments. They're making plays in big moments of the game. So, and people would question, did they get? I don't think they got the first down at the end of that game, but they were in the lead and they did outplay the Rams in the second half. Based on how that game was going, though, I was very surprised that they won that game. They were a little fortunate maybe in this game, but I do love how they played in the second half. The Broncos defense looks to be improving because it was just god-awful for a bit there. And the last couple games, it looks very much improved. They caused some problems for Jordan Love and the Packers. The run game looked great. Run game had control this whole game. Javonte Williams, McLaughlin, these guys look very, very good. And the run game kind of helped them control this game. I don't like, another one of those teams, though. It's like they completely outplayed the Packers in this game. And they had control. Like you're winning with the run. Your defense has them at 0 points in the first half. You have a decent amount of points. It's like the recipe is there to close this game out. And the Packers eventually come back and actually take the lead. And credit to the Broncos clutching up and finding a way to win, like when they had to. So everything's great, but the way the things were going, you should not let the Packers back in this game. Let alone that, but even take the lead. But they got a much needed win there. But what does this do about the trade deadline when you probably should be gathering picks? Are they going to stay put now? So we'll see. The Browns, weird game. This was weird too because there was a lot of weird games this week. There was a lot of very strange games, and those games had the strange outcome, like the strange winners, like the teams that we thought maybe were the wrong winners. This one might have been the strangest game, but the right team won in the end, like the better team who we predicted won in the end. So that's what makes it more strange. That many points, 38-36, like that many points is wild. Deshaun Watson playing bad, having to come out, and PJ Walker having to lead them to a lot of points, like wild. Gardner Minshew being as productive as he was, and just the Colts offense in general. I know they have good running backs and they have good playmakers, but against that Browns defense, how good that Browns defense has been. They made Purdy look awful. Like the 49ers look bad, and the Colts just were ridiculous against them. Like, it's a weird game, but the Browns do escape. The offense stepped up given the situation. Like the way the defense was playing, the defense was like, they were playing with no energy. They were giving up multiple plays. They were giving up. I don't know what was happening. Very disappointed in that. They were just plain simple giving up. Myles Garrett was making big-time plays, and they barely won with that, too, and all those points. That's why it was such a weird game. Took that last-second drive, maybe some calls going in their favor, too. Well, I'd say things you could argue they were the right calls in the end, just in the fashion they were. That was kind of the situation there, kind of getting bailed out, whether you think the right calls or not. But yeah, the offense stepped up. They had to score those points, and with PJ Walker, they did. So it was pretty crazy. But sloppy too. That fourth down, they pitch it to Ford. It looked wide open, but he loses I don't know what happened there, but it was a disaster. Seahawks run game looked good. Defense continues to develop. It's kind of a similar take for a lot of these teams this week. Defense, I guess. But yeah, the defense is getting better. It's good young talent that they struggle at some point, at some times before. But the last few weeks, they're really getting going. Witherspoon looks really good. So that's great. The Cardinals were sticking in this game, though. Maybe more consistent passing game for the Seahawks I would like. The run game was working, but they were kind of just insisting on running clock a little bit too much, and that kind of kept the Cardinals in the game, perhaps. So, wasn't overly thrilled with Seahawks this week. The Falcons, I'm overly thrilled with the defense, and I've been like, this is a much improved defense. I've been saying it since very early in the year. The defense can win them ball games. It won them this ball game, but the offense, they were able to move the ball, but they turned it over just sloppy. More Ritter being sloppy. It was a weird one because maybe they were fortunate to win this game, but at the same time, the Bucs were fortunate and they didn't get beat worse. The Falcons were turning the ball over in the fumbling the ball in the red zone. The defense was what it was in this game for the Falcons. I'm very much impressed with the defense this year. Don't trust them as a consistent team, though. Biggest losers, the Bills at the top with a few other teams. They have not looked good in weeks, even though there's been some wins. Or one win, I guess. They didn't look good in the Jags game. They didn't look good in the Giants game. They were lucky to win the Giants game, actually. You could argue they got outplayed and got some lucky calls at the end. And they lose to the Patriots. And they got out, even though they maybe they should have won, like based on what was, they gave up a touchdown with 12 seconds, but they got outplayed in this game. The offense did not look good. I guess when they absolutely need to score, sometimes they can do it. They can hit a big explosive play to Diggs, but the offense didn't look good in this game. The defense definitely didn't look good. And I guess they're suffering from the injuries, but a lot of teams are. You just got to find ways to beat one of the worst teams in football as of late, the New England Patriots, and they could not do that. And they just do not look like they were starting to look like the hottest team in the AFC, but that was kind of early in the season. And what do we say, and what is proven every year? Like, teams start to show more. Every week means more and more in the NFL. Every week means more and more, and teams start to show their true identity. So, not looking great for the Bills. In the Lions, Pasty was atrocious, was awful. And I know the Ravens are talented. I know Lamar Jackson's talented, but is it the most explosive, consistent passing offense? No, even though it's a good one. That's kind of like when the Ravens slip up, it's like that part of it couldn't stay consistent. And they looked elite, electrifying against this Lions pass defense. So that's not great. Another thing, Jared Goff has looked great this year. I had actually, before this week, I was calling him maybe the second best quarterback in football, not in general, but on this year. But he has been very well protected. And you see him, finally under pressure. Does not look good under pressure. Like, things need to be perfect, it looks like. For him to be good. But he's overall still looked good this year. But this one wasn't a great one. Just couldn't execute when you need him to. And now you start to question. It's a question mark, but you start to question, can the Lions, are they a team they're a good team. We know they're a good team, but are they a good team that just can't play with the other good teams? Like, they're a good team that's not going to beat the other good teams. They're going to beat up on the bad teams. It's a question. And actually, even though I've loved what they've done this year, I think they're a good team. This is not a prediction. What their identity is right now is a good team that might not be able to beat the good teams. Might. That's the question. So can't be mad at me for that. I'm not predicting them long term for that to be the case this year. It's just they're going to have to go out there and beat the good teams. They're going to have to go out there and do that. And because I really, as the pass defense is getting torched, I'm like, yeah, this is the pass defense from last year, and it's been much improved. And I was actually much more improved than I thought it would be. But I'm sitting there like, and looking back at they're on the win streak, the last 4 games, like the quarterbacks they've played Ritter, they've played Baker, they played Bryce Young, they played Jordan Love. It's like, okay, now you play Lamar Jackson, you get torched. And I see a lot of people on Twitter, the excuse is no Jerry Jacobs. Yeah, you're missing a corner. He's an underrated corner. You're missing a corner, but it almost proves my point. Well, first off, a lot of teams are missing players, but because you're missing Jerry Jacobs, your defense is going to lose 38-6. Like, you're going to fall apart. Like, no Jacobs, bad. Like, it sort of proves the point, like, in a way. Like, and everybody's missing players anyways. So it's not, we can't go, oh, it's okay, they're missing Jerry Jacobs. Like, no, that's not how it works there. So they're going to have to go out there and play better. They're going to have to go out there and beat up better teams. They can't rely on playing the weaker teams, because you remember their last loss, the pass defense gave up a lot to the Seahawks, and they lost that game at home. It's like, you start to think, you start to wonder. We're not making statements, we're not making predictions in the long term, but everyone, that's kind of their identity right now for people, is everyone kind of wondering, scratching their head a little bit. So, and just all around, I mean, they just look like a bad football team. I'm watching with other people too, and it's somebody else says, like, this team just looks awful. Like, I don't care who they're playing. I don't care that they're due to slip up. They just look like a really bad football team. Now, are they a really bad? No, I still think they're a good team, but I don't know. That's just a bad outing there. I don't know. So, we had multiple negatives for them. The Dolphins, yeah, the officiating wasn't great. And the offensive line was a little beat up, but they still got completely outplayed. They feel like a totally different team versus good teams. Similar question to the Lions, like, can they beat good teams? Like, the Dolphins and the Lions, they are good teams, but are they going to be on the losing end most of the time or all the time? Again, I doubt all the time, but against other good teams. Like, that's a big question, because they look elite against the weaker teams. I mean, look at the Giants, the Panthers, the last couple teams they played. They get stomped by the Bills, and it turns out the Bills aren't that good. And the score probably doesn't show, but they got completely outplayed by the Eagles. The refs did not. The refs, it was one-sided, and they didn't help them, and that definitely changes the game. But it does not change. They got completely outplayed, and they pretty much got gift spotted 10 points at one point as well. Tua's got to be better. And people are going to make excuses. The offensive line, I mean, he's still and Tyreek Hill's got to be better, drops a touchdown, so that wasn't on Tua. But the interception, I think the Dolphins would have got back in the game. But that interception, he had Tyreek Hill open. He just lofted it up there. So you just can't do that. In the end of the game, he throws a Kirk Cousins pass, like 4th down and 10. We're going to throw it short. So let's put him in the Kirk Cousins tier for now. But that they got to prove, like, it's not a prediction. I'm not predicting long term that they won't be able to beat good teams. But in the back of my mind, that's kind of my thoughts on the Dolphins. Like, they'll eventually kind of get game plan forward down the stretch against the better teams and in the playoffs. That's kind of what happened last year. So in the back of my mind, it's kind of what I was thinking. We're not making any predictions here, though. But they're gonna have to go out there and beat good teams. Fans always get mad at me when I say these things, but it's like, you can't be mad at me. You got to be mad at them. Like, these teams that aren't beating good teams got to go out there and beat good teams. I don't have to do it for them, So just got to look better. I know they kind of got shafted by the refs a little bit, but they got outplayed. Commanders are weird. Sloppy. That's not weird. They're just a sloppy team. Quarterback play was bad, just not enough. And I'm thinking, it doesn't take long for me to figure out if quarterbacks are good or not. That's not a flex. You should be able. It's very simple. Is a quarterback playing well? Give him a little bit of time. I know maybe how do we want to give him more? Yeah, he's going to get more time this year, but he's going to have to play better. Fans want to go oh, he needs more time. He needs 50 games. No. Got to play better. Got to take care of the ball more. He should be. If you're a reckless player like that in the pocket and with the ball, you better be scoring a lot of points. You better be explosive. So I don't have much hope for Howell. I think they'll be looking for another quarterback, even if he plays decent the rest of the year. And this is the weird part. It feels in a game like this, and it felt like that for some games, that the Commanders are lacking talent. That's what it feels like in this game. But you sit there and you look, you got Brian Robinson, you got a two-headed monster at the running back position. And they're using Rodriguez a little bit in this game. You have Terry McLaurin, you have Jahan Dotson. I've been disappointed with Jahan Dotson this year. You have Curtis Samuel, you have Logan Thomas. Defensively, you have Chase Young, you have Montez White, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, Kendall Fuller. Pretty good safety duo. They're not the great elite safeties, but they're a pretty good safety duo out there. With Curl and Forrest, so they're not lacking talent. So what's the issue here? And people want to go coaches. It's the easy way out. And yeah, maybe it's time to switch it up there. But again, I just don't think the quarterback plays there. I'm disappointed with Dotson as well. I'm surprised Brian Robinson couldn't get much going in this game either. It's not good. It's a game that you can't get outplayed to the Giants. You can't really let that happen. For the Packers, stale offense, which you've been saying, it's just not enough there. Run defense is, the defense should be better than it is, but it starts with the run. The run defense is bad. It's just bad. So it's pretty hard to be a good defense if you can't stop the run, because teams will just line up and go, hey, if they can't stop the run, this is pretty simple. You know how simple it is just to hand the ball off to the running back and then just drain the clock and give them limited possessions? So if you can't stop the run, you're not going to be a good defense. Plain and simple. It's just how it is, even though it's a passing era. Love stinks. Jordan Love is not playing well at all. I think that's what kind of goes into the stale offense. They're a little limited because you actually look, do they have this big name receiver? No, they don't. But you look at these receivers, like Christian Watson, I would like for him to get more involved. He's like a 1, 2, 3 yard catch guy a game, but he's an electrifying player. Romeo Doubs is making big plays. He's a great contested catch player. He's a great deep threat. He's a great, sideline threat. He's a great red zone threat. Jaden Reed looks like a pretty solid slot receiver. Musgrave can catch the ball. These guys are young, inexperienced. They don't have an elite guy, but these guys are impressive. They have proven they are no joke. They can play ball. So for Love to struggle as much as he has, and he's stepping into pressure, he's panicking a little early now. That's what I loved about him the first few weeks, is that he was poised, he was calm, and I did wonder that the first time they showed kind of a negative, a weakness, I wondered if they have young players, and I was kind of right on this, and I was right on this, but they have young players that will continue to get better, but I actually thought they would get figured out, though. Teams would be able to limit Love, find his weakness, and they would actually, while developing, the receivers, young players, they would actually get worse because it's a better game plan for defenses and kind of exposing some things for mainly Love with the rest of this offense, and it's the case. You got one of the worst defense on the year in the Broncos. You have 0 points at half. You can't figure anything out, so it's a bad look for the Packers. And it's like, looking at their defense on paper, like, okay, at least the defense can win games for them, though, right? Because they have Jai Alexander, they have Rashawn Gary. These are big time players. I love the linebacker duo. Kenny Clark, Preston Smith's solid, Savage is solid. Overall their corners are solid, but they can't stop the run. So I don't know why they can't stop the run. That should not be the case. Kenny Clark's not the problem. So I guess maybe the linebackers aren't. They're linebackers, I guess now that I think of it, they're built more for the passing game. Covering, getting sideline to sideline, like showing off range, maybe getting in the backfield, like in the pocket and passing games. So maybe not built for stopping a run. That's actually kind of becoming more evident now. More of the pass defense linebackers. So it was a bad one for the Packers. Again, I expected them to win that game off the bye and against the Broncos. Like, the matchups favor them too in that game. So that's just bad look. Other negatives, the other losers. The Bucs are up there with the biggest losers. You're home against the Falcons. The Falcons got don't have much offense. On top of it, what's going on in the game? They're giving you the ball. Like, the Falcons really outplayed them by much more than what the score showed. Much more. So the Bucs are coming back down. They are who we thought they were, the Bucs. Like, their record is better than we expected, but at the end of the day, the evaluations will be pretty damn accurate going into the year. Weird things will happen where teams will get lucky and win, or teams will, maybe they're not lucky, but they'll pull off a win early in the year, and it won't mean a whole lot. The division's so bad they can still win it, but what was the evaluation on them this year? Pretty good defense. Offense just doesn't have enough. There's just not enough there for the running game. There's not enough there for a consistent passing game. The offensive line isn't there. Like, Baker could be clutch here and there, but he just doesn't have enough as a quarterback. They have receivers. That is the take going into the year. That's exactly who they are. This is a game they should win going into it. And then with the gifts they're getting in this game, they probably should win. But they don't. They get outplayed. The defense. I don't really have a problem with the defense. It's just who they are. That's their identity. Chargers, Kelsey, they can't fucking stop him. They just can't. You think, okay, maybe they figured something out. Nobody can stop him, but slow him down. Derwin James on him. Like, yeah, I think that'll go good. Like, nope. I think the Chargers got good players, but they got a bunch of overrated players. What it feels like right now. That's not me saying they're going to continue to be overrated. It's not a prediction. Can't get mad at me for it. Those guys got to go out there and play to their name, play to their level. That's that. There's several players like that, I think, on that team. And I question Kellen Moore too, because things were working, like getting the ball downfield and then running Josh Kelly. I know one run kind of made up his stats, but he still did that. Give him the ball more. Kind of went away from what was working, and they were kind of backwards. Like, we'll try it here in this situation. A little backwards. And play for third down, didn't love that. So the play choices I wasn't thrilled with. And Herbert's not right. He's struggling right now. Did not play well. And he's an elite quarterback. Like, he should be playing much better. I know he's got a busted finger, but he's got to play better. So the Chargers were in this game too. It actually, the way it was going, like, they can definitely win this game in the second half. They just couldn't figure it out. They got out-coached, outplayed. Players not playing up to their standards. Not good. We kind of thought of them like, they're probably better than their record. I don't know about that. I don't know. They're kind of playing to where their record is. Rams, I thought the Rams were the better team in most of this game. This is one that there's a choke. Like, they shouldn't lose this game. They got to win this game going into it and what was going on. Start the second half with an interception. Like, Stafford's been playing good this year, but didn't see Watt. You can't. That changed the whole game. That interception right there. But they got completely outplayed in the second half. Usually they're the ones making good adjustments in the second half. I guess they got out-coached, out-adjusted, if that makes sense, and just outplayed in the second half. I think starting with that interception and the quick Steelers score just created that, though. That's really what did it. It's a game they should win here. Things were working, though. Like, Puka was working downfield, which should have opened things up for other receivers. I know Tutu had a touchdown. The run game, despite missing the running backs, was working. Like, where's Cooper Kupp in this game? How is he not more involved? I don't think he had a single catch in the second half, like one target. odd. And again, I don't think Pickett got that far. I know he didn't get that first down at the end, so they got screwed there, but they already screwed themselves at that point. Raiders roll around bad in this game. Not, they don't have Garoppolo, but playing the Bears with an undrafted quarterback, and it's the Bears, and you just kind of just get completely dominated both sides of the ball. Really, not great. And the Raiders defense, I said going into the year, what was my evaluation? There's not a good defense. It's Max Crosby's got to carry them, but they've been playing pretty decent recently, but also look at the offenses they've been playing. The Patriots, the Packers, the Steelers were in there. So I think they were kind of misleading. Like, okay, the defense might be decent. Like, and then they undrafted rookie moves the ball over them, and Foreman runs the ball all over them. It's just, so this is more of their identity on defense. It's not on offense because Garoppolo was out, but they had opportunities. Jacobs not completing a touchdown. Devonta Adams almost was right after, I believe. Colts offense and defense can't get on the same page. I feel like that's a thing all year. It's like offense is something good and the defense blows it. There's the defense making big time play. It's like within the game and then like from drive to drive and then a game as a whole in them on the year. Like they can't get on the same page here. I like Steichen. I love Colts fans insist that I never say anything good about them, but gave their draft an A+, but I loved the Steichen hire at the time. I'm excited about the future. I mean, they're going to have to continue to draft well. I don't know if it's been going well before this last year, but this last year I did love the draft. Richardson, we'll see if he can stay healthy, but this team's got a future under Steichen. Like, this is a really great mind. The Browns defense is a great one, and it's just different. Like, it's unique type offense. It's tough to game plan for. And he's got Gardner Minshew out there and, as his quarterback, and he's still putting up points. And they're putting up points and moving the ball against the Browns. So I'm excited about the future. The talent just isn't there yet. And it's not because Richardson's out and Minshew's in. There's definitely times where they're better off with Minshew, even though they're technically better off Richardson because you want him in, you want him healthy, you want him to develop. But there's times where they'd be better with Richardson. There's times that we'd be better with Minshew. I don't think Richardson would have scored that many points on that much in the passing game in a game like this against the Browns. I think the Browns with their blitz man coverage defense, they would have found a way to make a rookie's life difficult in this game. But the point is Steichen's a great coach. I love the future if they can bring in the right talent. The talent just not all the way there yet. I like the running backs, but the talent just not all the way there yet. And I love Downs. I was a big Downs guy. So again, I'm really excited for the future. I could take away positives from this, even though they gave up 38 points to PJ Walker. I know maybe there was some question calls at the end, but the future could be bright, and I it's just not now. And Colts fans are getting on me that I'm predicting them to not be great now, but you can't really, you got to be realistic. Like it's not now, but I like the future for them. I'll let you know when they're going to be good, So I take away some positives from that, mainly the coaching staff. The last of the negatives, it's like copy and paste for the Cardinals every week. It's pretty simple. Like they're losing because they just don't have the talent. Why did everyone predict them to be worse in football this year? Because on paper, they're the worst in football with Kyler Murray hurt. But they're not the worst in football because I think they're well coached. They're tough. Players are stepping up here and there, but they're just lacking the talent, and that's why they're losing. I'm excited to see Kyler Murray in that offense to see how it goes. It is going to be an adjustment, coming off not playing for a while, injured, and going from a spread offense to a West Coast offense. So I'm curious, but it does make them better either way. But they just don't have the talent right now, especially at quarterback. And the Saints are lacking offensive chemistry. The positive here is they put up a fight with the Jags, and they came back, and maybe something clicked. Maybe, fingers crossed for the Saints here. Maybe something's happening where they're finally, maybe finally to get getting chemistry at the end, and maybe we'll see. Colts game should be big this week. That should be big. But yeah, that's kind of my takeaway, though. Like, what's wrong specifically with the Saints offense? It's really a mixture of things. I thought Carr started this game just missing throws. Like, I thought not by a lot, but missing throws. And then he was too easy to check it down. It's like, there's times where I see him staring at Kamara from the start. It's not, there's some plays where it's designed that way. There definitely is. There's some plays where it is designed that way, but not all of them. Not even half of them. Not even close to half of them. There's plays where he's like, I could see it. Like, ball snap, he's like Kamara, check down. It's a good guy to get the ball to, but sometimes you got to get the ball downfield and you got to get it downfield a little more accurately. But it's not all on Carr at the same time. There's a lack of chemistry, and it's not just quarterback receiver. It's with the coaching staff as well. It's like they all got to mesh together, and then Carr, and sometimes he has a right to be frustrated, but him getting pissed that easily and rolling his eyes and yelling at guys and the coaches, it just makes the chemistry worse, and it kind of just flusters everything. And I don't know if everyone's going to be thrilled about that. So I'm not going to make a huge deal about it, but it goes along with the chemistry too. So that's like a bonus. Like, let's calm it down, Derek. All right. Let's try to get on the same page here. But going back to it, like, forget the Carr missing some throws early, but him checking it down too easily. And there's a lot of blame to Carmichael in the play calling, and I'll put some blame there as well. We'll get to that, but I was talking about this on Twitter. It's like a lot of times where Carr just gets a snap, he's like, "Where's my check down?" Boom. Like, you don't actually see the play. You don't actually see the design or what the play was supposed to be. So it's hard to get mad at Carmichael there because there's a lot to be determined, a lot left out there that we didn't get to learn about what the play was. So he's almost fighting against Carmichael there, but Carmichael's also a lot of the time calling plays that is like, all right, let's just get the third down and manageable. There's situations where you do that. There are situations where you definitely do that, but it is too much of it. A lot of it is Carr checking it down, but there is too much of it where let's play for third down and manageable. Why I don't like that is it creates an obvious passing situation, which means for the defense is all about predicting. What pass or run, what type of play, things like that. So when they know it's a pass, you don't have to play the run at all. It makes defense so much easier. And with the freaky pass rushers there are in the game these days, and how you can blitz, different ways you can blitz, different ways you can disguise coverage with the blitz, with the passers, whatever. It just makes it so much easier. So it almost felt like the way I just put that, which is it's evident on the field, Carr and Carmichael are kind of fighting against each other. And then you throw in the receivers where Carr's throwing it this way, the receiver's going that way. The receiver stops on his route, reads the coverage wrong. It's Carr's off target on that one, yelling at him, and then the receiver's looking confused. Like no one's on the same page here, but something kind of clicked at the end. Maybe they're just going to get going. So I don't think they're a big loser on the week, even though that is a pretty big problem and it's pretty evident, and it's the chemistry I can explain different ways on how the chemistry isn't there. That's not good, but they put up a fight with one of the better teams in football. They figured something out at the end. We'd like to hope. Kamara's fantastic. I need Olave to expand his game a little bit more, not give up on those plays. Thomas can still make big plays. Want him to get separation more. Shahid's electrifying player, but maybe they need a little bit more of a consistent do-it-all receiver, like how Michael Thomas used to be. Maybe that actually is a need, but they could have tied this game, brought it to overtime. Moreau did drop that touchdown. That was a good throw, so that was tough by him. Maybe they go from checking it down to too many shots to the end zone. Maybe just go piece by piece. So 2 weeks in a row, kind of like that. But yeah, so I think a big game for the Saints. It's a must-win against the Colts this week, which it's in India. A game can go either way too. So I'm excited to learn for a game like that. But that's going to wrap it up for my recap, my takeaways, some rants. Yeah, we're starting to learn more about teams. I mean, a little surprising, but then some teams, it's surprising based on what they've been doing recently. But if you think about it, who they've been playing or what we thought of them beginning of the year, it's okay, it's actually not that surprising. So it's kind of one of those weeks. So things are starting to actually make sense, even though yesterday didn't make sense, if that makes sense. So that's going to wrap it up. Can't wait for the rest of our content for this week and our trade deadline videos. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.